Who is she? You can't recognize me. That's how long I've been gone. Alright, hello humans. My name is Dael Kingsmill. Yep, moving right along. Those of you with the longest memories might remember a fabled time way back when I did a March Madness for monsters from the D&D Monster Manual. There were 4 monsters that I was gonna make videos on, and I've made 2 of those. Well, guess what? It's March again, baby! It counts. I mean, no one said it had to be the same March. Dragons. Dragons are iconic. It's in the name of the game. So why does fighting a dragon feel like you're just hitting a punching bag over and over again that sometimes you're afraid of? I don't want to mess too much with the base of the formula, right? Because you know, with a beholder, I can be more like, I think a beholder should be like this instead. But with a dragon, you really want a dragon fight to feel like a dragon fight. We've seen dragons in so many places. There's comic books, there's movies, there's TV shows, it's everywhere. We all know in our heads what a dragon fight should look like. So I haven't done anything like really extravagant with it, which worries me because I don't want you all to be disappointed in me. But in the end, my approach to the dragon encounter is much simpler than something like my Displacer Beasts. I also didn't focus as much on the stuff around the dragon combat. The one thing I did mention was I like the idea that dragons can just sense lies or maybe even smell lies, which is why there's this connection between the idea of dragons and riddles. You know, just to use a classic example, Bilbo doesn't lie to Smaug. He just misleads by talking in riddles. So in order to kind of talk your way around a dragon, and probably I would use this for Fae as well, just on a sidebar, it's really a game of like not lying, because if you lie, if you try to deceive them, they will know. But if you tell the truth but just make it sound like something else, that's how you gotta deal with a dragon. It's important to me that in some ways the dragon stays king. Leo the lion was king of the jungle. T-Rex, king of the dinosaurs, Jurassic Park, thank you. I want dragons to be king. The reason I'm telling you this is because I'm going to dispense of the breath weapon recharge die. I think that it is perfectly good design. I have nothing against it. I think the recharge die is perfectly good for other creatures that your party might come across. But dragons are grander beings. Dragons are made of sterner stuff, and a dragon's breath weapon is what makes them king. So in fact, let's just start there. I think that the dragon's breath weapon should be a little bit more Dark Souls-y. What I want is for players to be finding gaps in the action to exploit in order to do damage, rather than just brute forcing the situation. Replacing the recharge die with something that is more predictable, like Dark Souls, right? Or should I say Elden Ring, since that's the reality we're living in now. So you want it to be predictable. I would consider doing something like having the breath weapon activate every second turn. Ooh! But, consider this, there's more layers to it. You want to signal to the players that it's coming, right? So they start the fight with the dragon, it breathes its fire, and everyone's like, whoa, dragon fire, right? And then you get your round of combat, here we go. At the end of the dragon's second turn, I would have a visual cue, right? So when it first breathes fire, you know, have its neck begin to glow with the fire. Legends of Vox Machina, people watched Legends of Vox Machina. I don't know why I'm saying it like that. So people know when the breath is coming. At the end of the second turn, mention that the throat is starting to glow again. So people know that it's coming. So that they can scatter, take shelter. Then it breathes fire. Then on its next turn, it doesn't breathe fire, but at the end of it, you see the pattern, you get it. And your players will get it too. Because I don't think the breath weapon should be about... Okay, let's frame it this way. We want the breath weapon to be like the thing, right? Like, oh, it's this powerful boom. So we want to up the drama and the danger of the breath weapon. And as a result of that, we need to make the breath weapon be not about the hits, but about the near misses. So the breath weapons should be powerful enough that, like, if you get caught in the flames, you catch fire. If you're close enough, maybe you'd be incinerated. If you get caught in the frost breath, you are frozen. You become one of those, the Incredibles, the cops and they're frozen because of Frozone. I want that to be the thing that makes dragons so scary and so deadly. But being incinerated is not fun. So how do we implement that? First thing you do is you make sure that your players know on a meta level that the dragon you're running is not a standard D&D dragon, that it's a big deal, and that the breath weapon is gonna do damage. That's important for how they're gonna play this, because we want to train the players to approach a dragon fight differently. The second thing to do is to make sure the environment that the dragon fight is taking place in is interesting and interactive, and most importantly, has a lot of like nooks and crannies and things to hide behind. You want to be able to like duck behind a pillar as the flame hits it and you go, ah! Oh wait, that's from Shrek. I'm sure it's in other movies that aren't Shrek. Now, I think that the breath weapon should have some significant environmental impact. We were talking about making the environment engaging. You want the players to be paying attention to the environment. Where can they hide? Where can they not go anymore because it's on fire? I wrote down a couple of non-fire ideas for lingering map effects, you know, acid pools that are left from the acid breath, electrified water, poison gas fog, oh that's fun, iced up floors, slick floors. I think it's a good idea to have a bunch of places that the players can hide at the beginning, and then as the fight goes on, more and more of them are destroyed. Things get more desperate, more dire. It's really about making the players think about where they put themselves in this space, making that space that you're fighting in important to the fight itself. Because I think that is a significant element of a dragon fight, whether you're fighting in their lair on a hoard of gold, or whether you are, you know, being attacked by a dragon that is strafing the local village. That environment should be a tool and also an obstacle for the players. Keep them engaged and grounded in a sense of space. You cannot control what your players do, so it would be remiss of me to not mention how to handle if a player does get hit by the fire. I don't think that they should be incinerated. Maybe NPCs or just like random villagers. Burninating all the peasants. But when a hero gets hit by like a fire breath weapon from a dragon, my go-to thing would be, yes, have it deal a bunch of damage, but to really just emphasize that this is dangerous without immediately killing your players, my gut reaction is to have it deal a bunch of damage, still maybe be half damage on a successful saving throw, but the character catches fire. Whether they saved or didn't, they are burning now. They should be taking ongoing damage until, I would say stop, drop, and roll probably can't put out a dragon fire. I think you would have to like douse yourself in water. So in this ideal universe, we end up with this dragon combat where the players are having to think tactically around the breath weapon, right? And that builds up the breath weapon as this thing that is like the trump card that the dragon holds. We're back to Leo the lion. You better run away and hide. Do people know that song, or am I just... Where the hell are my other notes? Burninating the countryside, burninating all the peasants. Aha! Concerning dragons. The next thing that's very important to me is that you don't want it to feel like you are slowly wearing down a dragon. Or at least I don't. And this is my video. I want a dragon to feel like most hits glance off it, but a hero who strikes true can bring the beast down. Legends of Vox Machina, the Twin Rivers. You know what I'm saying? You know, I mean, maybe this is just me. One of my favorite things of all time, one of those things that stuck with me from when I was a child and The Hobbit was read to me. That idea that Smaug, his belly was soft, but he'd covered for that weakness by sleeping on his bed of gold, and it encrusted his belly with these jewels that couldn't be penetrated. There was this one spot where you could get through Smaug's hide. Bard, the hero of Dael, shot the arrow true and hit the spot, and Smaug went down, baby. That is so It is core to my formative dragon texts. But that becomes tricky, okay? So mechanically, what does that look like? Where the hell did the light go? Because it sucks to be a player and to be rolling really high and to be told that you just keep missing, oh, your arrows keep bouncing off, oh, the sword doesn't make it through the hide, and then just one person gets one hit and the dragon dies. That doesn't look cool when translated into D&D combat. I was rewatching an old video I did where I talked about taking ideas from video games, and one of the ideas that I took in that video was the idea of shields, then health. Takes the same thing, you know, you say the dragon has, I don't know, 200 points worth of armor, and then only like, I don't know, 50 to 100 actual hit points. And just be careful as the damage is being dealt out to make sure that you are describing those first 200 hit points as being weakening the dragon's armor. And then when you hit that crux, that point where it flips, then you can describe that last hit that crosses the threshold as like breaking open a gap in the scales. It's that idea of we've finally broken through. It took this long, but we've finally broken through, and now we're just wailing on it and dealing actual damage. So then a bunch of the players get to participate in that glory, that bloodlust of like, we can finally take it down, and they all get in there and they do a bunch of damage, and it still feels a little bit like you had to change the conditions of the test in order to do that. The third thing that I think is important to making a dragon fight feel good is that reactions are key. Always. I say this because anytime that your party are fighting anytime my party are fighting like a boss, instead of using legendary actions, which I think they're on the right track with the design of legendary actions, but it's not how I would do it. I love building into my boss fights reactions that have quite specific triggers. And in the case of the dragon, I've given lots of cool, iconic, like dragon-y stuff, like evocative imagery that we might associate with the dragon fight. I've given that to reactions, because in some ways I think it's cooler if it happens on another player's turn rather than on the dragon's turn. Because, you know, you spend this whole fight and it's like the whole round of combat with everyone doing something except the dragon, and then the dragon does something. And it's cool, but it doesn't feel like, you know, the give and take, the flow of a deadly, raging battle. Whereas if you structure it around the idea of reactions, legendary reactions, it becomes this thing that changes the flow of battle, makes it more complicated, keeps things interesting as the combat is going on. So in my example legendary reactions, I have such things as if it gets hit by 2 melee attacks in a row, the dragon's tail sweeps across within, I don't know, 10 feet, 15 feet, and everyone has to roll to not be just totally smashed across the room by the dragon's tail. If the dragon gets hit by something that requires a dex save, instead of, you know, leaping out of the way or whatever, it shields itself with its wings. Your dex save effect cannot harm me. My wings are like a shield of steel. If a player targets it with a spell that has verbal components, maybe the dragon roars and just completely covers the sound of their verbal components, and it acts like a counterspell. The dragon gets hit by a ranged weapon attack from more than 30 feet away. Maybe it flies across the space directly to where that character is. Maybe it grabs them in its claw. I also kind of like to put a limitation on them because they are cool cinematic moments that really add flavor and like interest to a battle. I don't like to do those things really more than once. I feel like they are, you know, triggered and then they go away. It's got other stuff to do. Except the tail. The tail kind of seems fun to include more than once. And those are the main things I would do. See why I'm afraid that maybe it's too simple for you? But I think that making those changes, it's basically 3 big changes and maybe a couple little ones. But making those alterations to a dragon combat, I think, could have a huge impact on how the battle actually feels being played, giving it gravitas and weight, and making it really be cool that you are taking down a dragon. Yo, that's dope. Makes me want to fight a dragon. Can I fight a dragon? I want to fight a dragon. I hope that you enjoyed the video. There are more videos coming. I have notes for like 6 different half-finished video concepts right now. Please send me the strength to do what must be done. I do apologize that it's been so long since my last video. There's just been a lot of things happening, and then the longer it takes, the more spooked you are about trying to come back. But I have been appearing on a bunch of stuff, most notably the Dusk campaign over on MCDM. Also, you can find me weekly on the Eldritch Lorecast. We constantly end up talking about game design and the philosophy around D&D. Now I'm gonna do that YouTuber thing to you, and I'm going to ask you to like the video, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell, leave a comment, all the things. It sounds stupid, but actually mentioning it in the video does make a difference. Apart from that, I do believe that's it. I'm done. Email this to your grandma, and I will see you some other time. Burning all the people in the